We have a cultural obsession with demographic groups. We constantly look to the media, trying to identify which young figures will emerge as the political voices of tomorrow. But that future-focused optimism rarely applies to millennials. Instead, they are heavily stereotyped as an exhausted, burnout generation, often blamed for the steady death of traditional industries. Their worldview was forged in a very specific environment. During their most formative years, they experienced intense global historical trauma. This raises a question. Are millennials actually wired differently than previous generations, or are they simply a normal population reacting to an abnormal environment? Social scientists do not rely on cultural think pieces to answer that. They use a powerful mathematical tool called regression analysis. If we want to separate mere generational stereotypes from scientific truth, we have to look past the cultural noise and test the data mathematically. In regression analysis, we start by defining the dependent variable, or Y. This is the specific, measurable effect or outcome we are trying to understand, like plunging rates of home ownership. Next, we define the independent variables, or X. These are the external environmental factors that we suspect are driving that specific outcome. For this cohort, a highly visible independent variable is the explosive historic spike in university tuition costs. A generation's identity is just a collection of these dependent variables, waiting to be mathematically linked to the independent variables of their era. To prove an association, researchers use linear regression. The crucial coefficient is beta, representing the association slope. Epsilon is the error term, the unexplained distance between prediction and actual behavior. Finally, R² tells us how much variance in Y is explained by X. Physics equations easily yield high R² values, but social science equations have famously low ones. Human generations are inherently chaotic and heavily influenced by unexplained variance. This chart shows two lines moving upward in tandem, marriage rates and reported happiness. Psychologist Jean Twenge analyzed data from 40,000 Americans and proved a positive statistical correlation between the two. But this introduces a critical analytical trap. Correlation is not causation. Does marriage actually cause happiness, or do financially stable, happy people simply get married more often? To cross the threshold from a mere correlation to true causation, statisticians rely on a rigorous checklist known as Sir Austin Bradford Hill's criteria. One of the most important rules on that list is temporality. The cause must happen before the effect. For millennials, the 2008 financial crash serves as the ultimate temporal trigger for shifting behavior. Observing a correlation gives us a starting point. Proving causation is the only way to know if an economic environment forced a generation to adapt. Applying rigorous regression analysis to demographic data provides a logical explanation for the traits we often find confusing in millennials. Massive top-down global policies acted as extreme independent variables, shifting dependent outcomes like international marriage rates. Saturation in early consumer internet access recalibrated their baseline communication variables. Statistical rigor strips away the baggage of cultural labels, revealing a population reacting predictably to extreme economic conditions. Beyond the dry calculations, these tools allow for a rare form of objective, cross-generational empathy. Our human biology remains consistent from one decade to the next. Instead, the mathematical equations of the world shift, and the people within them adapt to the new numbers.